Hey everybody, how's it going? Can everybody see me okay? Let's see. Sorry, I gotta shut off my phone. I usually do that, but unfortunately, I was on a conference call. So, everybody's Friday. How's everybody's doing? Hey, RNA Music. I just watched your Q&A like about 30, 40 minutes ago. It was a great Q&A. It was the Chapman and the and we talked about heritage guitars, and it was a great Q&A. If you guys want to check out Ryan's Q&A, it's great. It's RNA Music. It's a great Q&A. They do it every week as well, and it's real down home and kind of cool, just like this, laid back. A little information for you. Him and his wife own a store in Texas. Robert Baker is going to do a clinic there with Acacia Guitars soon. You know, Ryan, if you put it in the comments, I'll tell everybody the date. No, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll also make sure I put it in the comments of this commentary when I do the index. So I'll make sure everybody knows that as well. Clint says, "Hey, finally made it to a live show." I'm glad, Clint. That's awesome. I love kind of like hanging out on Friday, kind of ending the week, and seeing what's going on with everybody and talking about some gear and music. Let's see. Oh, Andy's from San Diego. He says, "Hey, what's up?" San Diego's awesome. I would wish I was. Oh, the weather here is awesome anyways. I think it's like 85, which for Arizona is fantastic. It's 85 here is like 75 somewhere else. Just feels a little cooler because it's dry. So there you go. And let's see. Letting everybody just kind of sign on and get into the live QA before we start hitting the questions. November 11th. So RNA Music's clinic with Acacia Guitars and Robert Baker is November Beard. I have no beard. November 11th. So November 11th. So. Quicksilver is asking if that's an Eastwood. No, it's not. It's a Gretsch streamliner over in the corner, right there. You know that right there. Yeah, that's my Gretsch streamliner, which I love a whole lot. So we'll start hitting some questions. I just want to talk real quick. I starting every show with the Patreon sponsors. So let's go to that. This show is going to be sponsored by Dave Madison, Justin Mabey, Michael Shy, Bradulist, John Jex, and Lawrence Petros from LPD Pedals. Everybody kind of knows LPD Pedals. They know I'm a diehard 68 Drive fan, and he also decided to sponsor the live show with the other patrons, and I really appreciate that. It kind of helps some of the costs and stuff. As you can see, we're improving the show. You see these little screenshots and stuff and doing some stuff. I'm going to be adding a second camera angle soon, too, so if I have an instrument and stuff, and we'll see how it goes. And a special guest coming, too, which is really cool. So, okay, let's go with the first one because I'm excited about this. Hey, Phil, what do you think of the TC Electric Mojo? You know, I heard it's Paul Gilbert's favorite overdrive pedal, and I wasn't thinking in a million years. When I did the TC Tone Print, as you guys know, I did a TC Tone Print with the Nerd Whammy pedal, and or the Quintessence, and I did the Nerd Whammy. They sent me one, and so one to give away. The one I'm showing you, the reason I'm showing it to you is I'm going to be giving that pedal away. When the review pops in about a week, if you watch the review, this is for you guys important. I'm going to do something. I don't think anyone's ever done this on YouTube. When I release that, so this is just for you guys that watch these live shows on the rebroadcast. When I do that review, I'm probably going to give it away within hours of the video launching. So I'm probably going to set a number and say when it gets that many views, just we'll do the giveaway. I'll pull everybody out, print everybody's names, and do a drawing right away. So we're going to give that pedal away. It'll be the pedal that I use in the video. So that will be the Nerd Whammy that I wrote on there with Sharpie. That will be on there. I'll probably give you guys an option because they gave me, one to give away. You guys, I probably will, if you guys want the one that I didn't write on and wasn't used in the review, you can have that one. But you'll have a choice. But to answer your question, they gave me a few pedals too. They gave me a Sub and Up. They gave me the version 2 of the Hall of Fame and the Flashback. They gave me the Dark Matter, and they gave me. Well, that's it. It was like 5 pedals. But I should have asked for a Mojo Mojo. I don't know why I didn't. So I'm probably just going to buy one. They're $50 new. Somebody said you can find them used for $25. So there you go. Medicated One says, can't stay long. Band practice tonight. Awesome. And without YouTube, I probably wouldn't be in a band. Oh, so thanks. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. I love YouTube. I think I was just telling somebody the other day, I learned how to fix something on my pool from YouTube. I love that you can find stuff and get information now. So let's get into some more questions. Try not to say so much when I'm filtering questions. Let's see. Okay, it says, you should give away everything they give you to remain unbiased. Well, Rob, I would, except for, I did that tone print. That's not free. I mean, I know that sounds silly, and please, guys, don't take this wrong, but I consult for a living. To do what I did with TC, I would usually charge a good penny to sit with a company and do that stuff. Now, I understand I did it for Guitcon, but that was kind of what Guitcon's about, right? We went and shared our resources. I've had my hand in a lot of products over the years, especially in the last year, even more so. YouTube, of course, put me more on the radar with a lot of companies. So that's what I said. I was just doing a conference call just now. That's exactly what that is. I'm helping a company with a new line of import pedals. Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I like TC, so I am biased because they were really cool guys. I'll tell you guys a funny story. So they asked me to do the tone print, and they sent me an email before we went to Gitcon. They said, hey, you should do the tone print. And I told my buddies, I said I wasn't going to do the tone print. I wasn't sure. I said it just felt weird. No one's really going to care. I feel weird because I'm not really a guitar player. I'm a gear channel. I don't understand the logic. And I was supposed to meet with them on Wednesday at Gitcon, and I got really busy, and I was like, I just don't feel, I wasn't there yet. I wasn't thinking this is going to be a good idea. And believe it or not, I didn't do it on Wednesday. So Thursday morning at breakfast, I was talking to Pete Thorne, and he said, hey, I did my tone print. Did you do yours? And I said, no, I decided I just didn't have time, so I skipped it. And Pete goes, well, it was awesome. You should have done one. I said, no one's going to care if I do a tone print. You make sense. Phil X makes sense. Tyler Larson makes sense. You guys are phenomenal guitar players. Of course, have you guys do some cool tone prints, but nobody cares. And Pete Thorne basically said, really, it's really fun. And, you have a lot of gear knowledge. Why don't you use your gear knowledge? So that afternoon, when I was walking around, they walked up to me and they said, hey, we'd really like you to do it. We'll make an appointment on Friday morning. And when they gave me the second chance to do it, I sat on Thursday in the hotel room. I sat up for about 2-3 hours coming up with ideas, and then I came up with the idea that the new Quintessence pedal, I'm like, what if we use it as a pitch modulation bending pedal? Especially since I like the Pitchfork by Electro Harmonix, but it colors my tone because it's not true bypass. And I know Digitech has one, but it just wasn't what I liked. I liked the Pitchfork. So I thought if I could have the perfect world, I would do this. So I kind of did that. But I am biased now with TC. So, and I plan to say that in my videos too. They were nice to me. It's hard not to build a relationship with companies. Just like Lawrence Petros of his pedals. I love his pedals, and then we became friends. I don't think that really is a bad way to do it. It's different if you're taking their money. I haven't taken anybody's money yet. So we'll see if I'm giving kudos to people for their check. But right now I'm just good for how they treat me. If they treat me nice, I can't help but like them. Okay, so the next one is Purple Dragon says, hey, Phil, I want to know your thoughts on the Line 6 with their Variaxe and the HDP 500X combo. I've tried that before. When it first came out, I got a demonstration of it for Line 6, and I messed with it. I have friends that swear by it. They love it. And I think it's really cool. It's just, that's where my geekness kind of drops off a little bit, is the technical programming side of processors and stuff. But I love the way they sound, and I think the product itself has merit. I'm just not really into it myself. Now, the Variaxe guitar by itself, just being to use it to do different tunings and different guitars, I think that's cool. In fact, I think their acoustic sound on their guitars sound better than most piezo systems, Biazio, however you want to say that out there in the world. I feel like every time I say it, you guys correct me, so I said all three. Anyways, so I like their the kind of synthetic acoustic sound better than just using a transducer type bridge. Ben Author Guitar says, have you played the new Freidman pedals, Dirty Shirley and Buxom Betty? No, is the Buxom Betty the Buxom Boost? Is that the same thing? That's got to be the same thing. I want to buy them. I'm not gonna lie. I really want them. I played the Dirty Shirley, and I was on the fence because obviously I've been on Dave Freidman's show, so I met him there, and I thought about just reaching out to him and seeing if he'll give me a special price or something, but I think I'm just going to buy them from Sweetwater and call it a day. So yeah, I would be shocked if you don't see that pedal. I want to get the Dirty Shirley and then do a video A-Bing it against the BOD. That's what I want to do. But Dave Freidman said when he was doing the live show with Phil X, he said the Buxom Boost, the Buxom Betty, can make any amp sound fantastic. And he seemed really convinced when he was talking about that. It wasn't just like the hype talk. It was, you could tell he had a passion for it. And when I find builders say something, like that's their favorite thing, I find a lot of times it's probably going to be a little cool, a little extra kind of magic to it. So we'll see. But that's almost $400 in pedals, so it's got to work it in the budget. I've been you can see I've really downsized a lot of amps. I told you guys I was downsizing some stuff. So I'm trying, I'll try and put that in the budget. Let's see. It says, hello, Phil. I know you have spoken a little in the past about Harley Benton. Do you have any experience with her gold top P90 Les Paul inspired model? I don't. All I know about is Harley Benton is what I picked up at Guitcon. And at Guitcon, I was actually doing so much stuff, and I was excited about everything. I really didn't spend a whole lot of time schmoozing with the companies. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. Now that I've interacted with a lot of the YouTubers post Guitcon, I realized that they had built a lot more relationships than I did. I'm not really a schmoozer. I don't really do that really well, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the I have appreciation for people who can go up and talk to people, so I didn't really do that. So I didn't tell them, hey, yeah, send me a couple and I'll review them. I didn't really talk to them at all. In fact, all I talked to when I talked to Toman guys, I just told them they were fantastic, and then I walked away. My brain doesn't click to go, this is a good opportunity for you to go, hey. Plus, I do forget a lot that maybe, because I'm a YouTube review type channel, maybe I should be talking to companies about reviewing product. It does. But mainly that is, I think it's because if you really pay attention to my channel, and those of you guys who really, really follow it and I really appreciate that, may know this. I was talking to a pedal company the other day, and they were saying, well, you're a pedal review channel. I said, well, it's October of 2017. In the year of October, 10 months in, I've done 6 pedal reviews. I don't even do one a month. I own a lot of pedals. I just don't review a whole lot of pedals. So I don't actually review as much gear as people think I do. This year, I'll tell you, I do the end of the year, the top 10 pieces of gear I review for the year. I think we're figuring out I barely reviewed 10 pieces of gear this year. So, because what looks like reviews is really just me talking about gear and how to use it. Jared Briggs says, I'm sure Glenn Fricker doesn't agree with you on the Line 6 comments. You know what? I don't think he hates everything about Line 6. I just think he hates the cheap stuff. And that's okay. It's a perceptionary thing. His perception is he's in the studio, so to him it's... Think of this. As a repair person, there's certain guitars that I'm just not excited about. I'm not happy with them. Because to me, they just bring up all these memories of all the times I've fought with them. I like Epiphone guitars. I really preach them for the most part. But to be honest with you, some of the worst guitars I've ever worked on have been Epiphone guitars because sometimes they just let stuff get through QC really bad. And same with Dean guitars. But I would never go out there and say all Epiphones or all Deans are bad because, like I said, they make a lot of good guitars. But some of the... when I charge for a setup, you charge the setup guitar, a crown level guitar, or whatever you end up doing, you have a certain time frame. I've spent 2 days on an Epiphone once just to make a customer happy, and there's no way mathematically that makes any sense. That's 2 days of labor for an hour and a half cost. So sometimes, you get the idea. And I'm sure he's got the same stories about recording Line 6 stuff. Gear, bands come in with a Line 6 amp, and he's like, I'm going to have to reamp this thing 6 different ways. Nick says, I just got a TC Quintessence, and your tone print is really great. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And so when I was talking about that earlier, Pete Thorne kind of inspired that too. Like I said, he really inspired that out of me talking to him at breakfast. Because when he said, why don't you do something different? I was like, yeah, and it was really nice. The TC guys tour at TC, they're fantastic guys, super nice. And one of the things he told me, which was really great, was he said, I was one of the first people they worked with that said, yeah, I want to take one of your pedals and make it do something else. and he said that was kind of fun. And he admitted, he said, that basically what I said. They're used to working with musicians and not gear people. And he told me I had a different vibe to the way we interacted. And I said, yeah. I thought it was cool. Hosa, hey Hosa, it says, people feel like it's bad for YouTubers to have relationships with companies. So long as the relationship isn't meant to negatively hurt the consumer, it can actually be symbiotic and beneficial. I agree. Basically, what I feel is about disclosure, transparency. The whole point of social media is that we're interacting. Like today, I'm reading your questions and I'm answering your questions. I don't get time to Google, Wikipedia, what I'm responding to. All my responses to all these 38 1-hour-long QAs, as you can tell, are just literally off the top of my head. So that's a lot of pressure, whether it doesn't look like it or not. You guys ask me questions from repairs to the industry to pedals. I mean, you're all over the place. And so I have to really pull from all of my years of experience, and then when I don't have that experience, I have to kind of cow and cater to. I'm sorry, I don't know. But when it comes to companies, I think it's just about disclosure. You know what I mean? I just don't want you to say something to you and not realize I have a relationship with the company. So I think the relationship's fine as long as it's on the up and up. And let's see. Okay, next question. I love these new questions. You guys, by the way, I feel like the questions have been a lot better recently. I think everybody's really diving in and getting great questions, so I really appreciate that. There is what? Hold on. Oh, okay, great question. Composer Dave68 says, what should someone look for when buying an Epiphone to tell if it's one of the bad ones? So historically, there's a bunch of stuff you can do when you use guitars, but with Epiphones, since I kind of opened that can up, I'll tell you, one of the big issues with Epiphones have always been, and guitars in that price range, are frets. Bad frets, lifted frets, because they don't dry the wood properly, and when the wood's just wet, when they're cutting it and making it, it'll continue to shrink, and when it shrinks, it pulls away from those frets, and we all know what fret sprout is. That's where the frets they look like they popped out, but really the fretboard shrunk in, and then the frets are sticking out. That's one, but that is obvious. You can feel that on the sides. What also happens is the frets lift out of the wood. And so that's a little bit more tricky, because even though it's easy to file off the ends of a fret, when the frets are high or low, you can crown them and level them, that's fine, but if the frets have lifted out of the wood, we have to reseat them. And there's a bunch of different techniques for that. One of the most common, of course, is to pull the fret and reseat a new fret, or if it's, you could tap it with a hammer and hope it bites in. You can see if that helps. That helps a lot of times as well. We use a fret hammer, something with a soft brass end. And there's also a type like a hard plastic fret hammer that I've used, and sometimes you can use super glue, you know what I mean, and inject it in with these syringes, and you put that in there and then kind of press it with a fret press, and I've done that as well, and that's worked for me in the past. Especially when you have to understand one thing about repairs I don't think people will ever understand is when you're talking to repair people, you always have to remember there's different levels of repair people. When I talk to people who repair high-end guitars and they go, that's not the correct way to do it, well, when you have a $99 guitar brought in from somebody who's learning guitar and they got it at Christmas and their investment's done and they can't invest $400 to have this guitar fixed right, you have to learn techniques and how to fix a guitar for $30 to $50 just to make this guitar playable. So when it comes to Epiphones, those are the things you're trying to avoid, because not every person has the attitude I have. Some people, just when you go in a shop, they have a one-stop shop pricing. So you buy a guitar for $150 and they want $500 to fix it. So what I would do is pay attention to frets on Epiphones. That is the biggest thing. And how do you do that? It's simple. First, do a visual inspection, and then after that, I would always get a fret rocker. They're very easy to get. Just Google it. We'll put it in the link down below. I'll put a link for the one I like, fret rocker. I think everybody should have one. It's a great way. If not, I have a video out there somewhere. Maybe I'll put that link where I show you how to use a credit card. You can use a credit card to find a high fret. It's not as perfect, but it will generally get you there, and that's important too because it'll save you some money. So, guys, I love it. You guys are talking to each other, which is awesome, but sometimes it trips me up, so I gotta, let's see. Phil, did you get to try all the new Danelectro pedals or just the Pride of Texas? Chuck Dickens. No, the Danelectro guys, I think I've said this before, they're just crazy cool. That stuff just shows up. I've never physically talked to anyone at Danelectro, just verbally. It's all been this just email communication. And when I got back from Guitcon, I have the new one. It's behind me. It's the Big Spender, and I didn't review it because I was busy. I've had some stuff going on, so I got a chance to try it one night barely, and then they sent the battery thing, and I did the battery video today because I thought that was kind of interesting. Because it was so weird when I was like looking at this. I was like, what is this battery stuff about? So I wanted to check that out. I was more curious about that, so I plan to do that. I've gotten 2 of, I think there's 4 or 5. So it's been cool. They've been kind of piecemealing them out to me. So there you go. And then also, so they actually used one of my quotes in one of their ads, which I thought was really cool too. That really felt pretty cool. Okay, so Pablo says, "Hey Phil, why are your guitars hanging on your wall?" ? Okay. Is it just to look cool? ? I've read that it's not good, as all the attention goes to the headstock. Thanks, greetings from Peru. Okay, well, one, it's to look cool. No, I mean, I like hanging them on the wall. To me, no, I think they're safer on the wall. I mean, you can't put them in cases all the time. It's tough, right? If you put them in cases all the time, it's a process to get them out. You're gonna play, you're gonna play what's available to you. It's just human nature to take the path of least resistance. I have never had. I always go to what I've experienced in my life. I have never had an issue with a guitar hanging on the wall, other than lacquer guitars can get lacquer burns from wall hangers. And from wall hangers, I only use string swing. That's it. I don't use anyone else. I have no exceptions to that rule. There is just, to me, I've tried a bunch of them, and I'm string swing all the way. They are great. And by the way, there was a big article about them. They have a knockoff company on Amazon knocking them off. And so if you buy string swing on Amazon, make sure you're buying the legit stuff. It's branded correctly. It's made in the USA. It's built forever. Amazing. And even with lacquer, sometimes you may want to put a cloth over that, because lacquer burns are where basically the rubber of a guitar stand or a wall hanger stops oxygen from getting to the lacquer, and it becomes superheated because there's no oxygen hitting it, and it burns. It looks like somebody put a cigarette out on your headstock. And so that's, it gives you the Eddie Van Halen look. So to answer your question, I think they're totally safe on the wall based on my experience. I obviously have some very nice guitars. I've had them on the walls for many, many years. I've never had a problem, and I am very. I don't have any kind of special humidification or anything going on in my rooms. I'm very aggressive when it comes to my guitars and how I treat them, and the idea that I don't baby them. So there you go. Your mileage may vary, so to speak, with that statement being said. Then, next we're going to go to, I bought a brand new Epi 339. This is from RLTA4. ES3, our Epi, so we got the Epiphone 339 a few years ago, and the truss rod was seized and would not turn. You know what's funny? I had an ES339 Epiphone version as well in the shop to work on, and it had the same issue. I could not turn the truss rod. It was cracking and popping. It was horrific, and the customer was standing in front of me when I was doing it. But you have no choice. I mean, it's you got to turn it. And it says the rod was seized. It would not turn. Luckily, I found out right away, and returned it for a different one. Same thing happened with my customer. Basically, it was seized up, and they were able to take it back to the Guitar Center where they got it and get it taken care of. So yeah, I had that. It was funny that it was a 339, same issue, and that was probably about 5-6 years ago. But yeah, same issue. It has nothing to do with Epiphone. I don't want to get on a brand smash thing. It's really just brands in general have this issue. Low price point guitars are just going to have more seepage of bad product through the QA lines. Let's see. Richard Faro says, "Hey Phil, have you tried the Yamaha Pacifica series? I'm thinking about buying a 311H model. I have tried them over the years." And I not recently, but I've always liked them based on their reputation and what I've come across. They're good guitars, but I just don't have a specific, I can't tell you specifically recently I've tried it. Let's see. Okay, it says, "Phil, with all the 4 companies having some form of trouble, like Fender, Gibson, Peavey, and Marshall, what upcoming from companies do you see filing those?" Oh, okay, so what companies do... Okay, I want to say... Thanks, Metalhead Hippie. It says, "Phil, with all 4 companies..." In other words, what he's saying is Fender, Gibson, Peavey, and Marshall all seem to be saying some kind of distress. I haven't heard a whole lot about Marshall having issues, but I don't doubt it. What companies do you see filling those voids and taking their spot? Well, interestingly enough, I think Freidman has been coming after Marshall for a while. Now, my guess is they're probably not nearly as large as Marshall, because Marshall's a large company of amp builders comparatively to Freidman. But I think Freidman's been taking their market successfully. I honestly will say this, and I mean no disrespect to Freidman, because I own 2 of them and I really like them. I own Freidman's because Marshall doesn't make a product that I wanted. They don't make a 25 watt Marshall type amplifier that I had the 2061, and it was $2,000, and it had no dirt channel, and you can turn it up. I was looking for a JCM 800 or a Plexi style amp, and Marshall doesn't do that. So when a company sees what you're talking about, that these companies are missing competitors. Now Fender, as far as I know, is not in any kind of distress. My understanding is, and things can always change, but my understanding is Fender's got big, deep pockets behind them now. The company that basically bought the majority of Fender's debt a few years back owns Ducati, J. Crew, Neiman Marcus. They're a big, deep pockets company. So that is probably going to keep Fender, and Fender is by far the dominant branding image. So Fender I don't see going anywhere ever. Gibson and Peavey, Marshall, they might be different in the idea that they might have to change ownerships. Peavey, who knows? I don't know what will ever happen to Peavey. Who knows? It may be fine. Peavey's got a separate issue too. You got to understand the main ownership of Peavey is, Hartley's going to retire eventually. So, but filling those voids, I think what you see is what you probably will see is what you see in the rest of the world. Look at guitar magazines. As they've kind of shrank, you see all these YouTube channels pop up, and that's a new resource. So I think that's happening everywhere. Bands too. Instead of having 50 mega bands and they're all huge playing coliseums, you just have hundreds of smaller bands. So I think what's going to happen is no one company is going to take Marshall or Peavey or Gibson or Fender, any one. It'll be multiples. So like Peavey, instead of a company taking Peavey's market, you might see Blackstar and and Vox and who else? I don't want to say Line 6 because they're really good crazy, but you understand what I mean. Just a bunch of companies taking companies. And Fender, same thing. If Fender was ever to go to the wayside, it would be just because a dog pile of companies came on, like Sir to everybody else that's got a Fender type product. So same with Gibson. Gibson will eventually get toppled by PRS companies and Heritage and Framus and Nags and everybody else. It'll be just that's what happens. And that's happening a lot in a lot of industries now. It's a real big common thing to see a lot of small companies just take little pieces from big companies, and then they don't survive as much. Let's see. Raymond says impulse response cab simulator pedals. Only 2 I've been looking at for myself have been 2 Notes and the what is it? It's the aux. Universal Audio aux, but that doesn't come out until December. But those are the two units I've been looking at for that kind of thing. 2 Notes kind of has it cinched up. They're pretty much the go-to company for that. And everyone I know uses 2 Notes. So I've just been trying to figure out what 2 Notes fit for what I'm trying to do. D-Rock says, Phil, do you know why my 1993 Squire Telly has a Fender logo? Yeah, it probably has a Fender logo because Squire was originally a string brand that Fender acquired, and they started. They messed with it. The way Squire is now, the incarnation of where it is now, it's not. It wasn't supposed to be a brand, or at least maybe they intentionally started to do that, but it wasn't a brand at first. It was like a series from Fender. So it would be a Fender Squire series. Does that make sense? Try to think of an example. A good example of that would be like Line 6 Bogner. You know what I mean? It's a series. It's not another brand in that. So that's what they were doing. They were calling it a series. So eventually Squire became its own brand. So that's why originally all the Squire stuff had Fender and then Squire underneath. And then, of course, later it was turned to Squire by Fender, so it changed. And there's probably some more history behind that, but that's just a real quick snapshot of why you're seeing what you're seeing. Somebody says, hey, Phil, which is better, an AR-15 with pump fire stock or an M16 or a Fender amp? I'm going to say a Fender amp, although, I use an M16 in the Army, but that's the last time. Well, that's not the last time I touched one, but you get the idea. Ed Bailey, how do you tell when a built-in preamp has gone bad? Well, there's two ways. First, it'll start crackling and acting up, but mostly they just go dead. They're notoriously just, they go dead. They're very cheap, and built-in preamps and acoustics are very, very cheap. But the first thing they do is they start crackling really bad because they get dirty, so it's important to keep them clean. You can use contact cleaner and stuff like that. I use Deoxit. In PC board, stuff like that, I'm just real sparing with it. Go in there maybe with a Q-tip or something light and just clean it all out. Okay, Shaman Blues. Hey, Shaman, what's up? Phil, what guitar are you glad to have because it's different tone-wise? Oh, that's a great question. See, I told you guys. You guys are getting fantastic with this stuff. Because it's different, right? So I'm going to say, for the sake of this argument, what guitar am I glad to have because it's different tone-wise? I'm going to say then Strats and Les Pauls. What guitar do I have that I think is... it's probably that new Framus. You know what? It's probably a toss-up between the 68 Danelectro and the Framus. Those are my two most unique sounding guitars from the pile. So every guitar I have is some kind of variation, I think, of a Les Paul. All my PRSs are kind of Les Paul Stratty mixes, and Strats are Strats, and Ibanez's are, kind of like a same thing, a humbucker version of a Strat. But that 68 Danelectro and that Framus, you can both see them in the shot on each side of me. Those, I was playing those yesterday all day, and they are definitely the most unique sounding guitars I have. It's really hard to say what they sound like. They kind of sound like themselves. Oh, here's a good one. BC Rich 581 says, do you think Electro Harmonix has too many lines of overdrive pedals and the like in... Right. Okay, so you're asking, are they undermining their own market? I don't know. It's weird how many pedals they keep making. They just keep making pedals. And but their pedals are reasonably priced, and it's good stuff. I mean, it's not like they're putting out junk. So think of it this way. It'd be one thing if they were just putting out one thing after another. Was just if they took the same pedal and made this one red and then this one blue. And, they really seem like each pedal they come out with is different from another pedal they make. So they're just making a huge palette. What I think about that is, in the old strategy of music stores, that everything went through a music store, I think those kind of strategies will kill the music stores. How does a normal music store, even a Guitar Center, carry 68 different Electro Harmonix pedals in a case? It's going to be almost impossible. But as more of the internet direct-to-consumer market approaches, it's easier because they house that stuff at their warehouse and it ships out. So not that they have that set up, but they're another controversial company. They're done with Amazon too, by the way. They won't sell on Amazon, and they don't allow their retailers to sell on Amazon anymore. So not quite sure why. I started reading the article and then I had to do something else. So okay. Okay, Kendall Likes Water says, if I adjust my truss rod, which I'm afraid... Oh, sorry, Kendall. It's jumping, and I'm trying not to... Let me go back. I really apologize. Here you go. It says, if I adjust my truss rod, which I'm afraid to since it's making a cracking noise, will the neck snap? Would it cost a fortune to fix it? Okay, so I got to be careful with what I say because I don't want to confuse you because this is important. But I want to tell you things, so you're going to take very close attention to what I'm saying, Kendall. Okay, your truss rod cannot snap your neck. It's just impossible. It doesn't exert enough force, and it doesn't move in a way that can crack a neck. You can strip your truss rod out. That's generally what happens. Truss rods can do one of two things. They can strip out at the top, or they can crack. Then the rod itself can break. And that's actually the worst if that happens, because then you have to delaminate your fretboard and put a new truss rod in. If the top strips out, you can sometimes remove those, back those out, and put a new one in. And that happens. It depends on this type of guitar. So the important part of what I'm trying to tell you is that don't worry about the neck. But what I tell everybody is, if you are concerned about this, take it to your local shop, your repair guy, but ask to watch, and not watch, tell them what you're up to. I want to see you turn the truss rod. I find that if you've never done it before, kind of feel it out, but if it makes you feel concerned or there's an issue, I would have somebody do it, but watch them. Once you see somebody how they do it, it's a really easy finesse thing. It's, most people who do it kind of chuckle at people who have issues with it. Forgets the first step is the hardest. So, and the cracking and stuff is easy. Don't worry about that. That's not the neck snapping or anything. That's just the physical metal biting, or sometimes just the glue in there and everything's kind of shifting. It sounds like a pirate ship cracking and creaking, but it's not really the end of the world. So, I would not mess with it if you're not sure about it. But like I said, if you want to, but also make sure you have the right Allen key in there. That is the most important thing. That's what everybody does that's wrong. They strip them out. So make sure you're using the exact correct Allen key. And if you think you can do it with just watching some videos, maybe do that. But otherwise, take it to a local shop. And then if it doesn't need a full setup, just tell them. Ask them how much to just turn the truss rod for me and let you watch. I've done all that kind of stuff in the past. If you were local here, I would do it for you. So it's not a big deal. Hey Phil, what are the exact specs of your Copper Strat? I'd like to know what is the neck profile, woods, materials, pickups, electronics, and hardware, etc. Sure. That's cream, fresh cream. My Copper Strat, which is behind me, is a Fender custom shop Strat, and I had, I think, 26 of them made, maybe more. It was a lot, and different colors and stuff for the shop. They actually have the shop's name on them and stuff. And so it's a 12-inch radius fretboard, which is, I could have done compound, but I did 12-inch radius. The neck is a cross, it's like a soft U instead of a C. It's kind of almost like the Jeff Beck neck, but a little thinner. So that's why I said, that's why when I mentioned, I think last week, that it's really my personal guitar, that's why it's a very unique neck. It's something that I developed as we were making custom shop guitars with Fender. Each one I would make tweaks, and then when it got to the last batch, I really had refined it. The bridge is the modern 2-point bridge with the block saddles and a push-in whammy bar, so you don't have to worry about turning it forever. It has a solid alder body. It has 2 Thornbuckers in there. Originally it came with some Abigail Ybarra single coils, which I took out and I eventually sold. They were okay. They were good pickups, but I just decided this is what I want to do. Has Spurzl locking keys. It is a quarter sawn neck, and it is like a not spalted maple. Don't listen to me. It's a burl maple neck. So other than that, it's just the neck shape is unique. After that, it's just a regular Strat. And then, of course, the color is unique. Not anymore. Fender's done a bunch since, but there was no that color before that color. So, in a production Strat. Brent says, hey, Phil, earlier this year you sold some pure SS2s on Reverb. Would you do that again? Probably not. We haven't been doing any kind of stuff like that on Reverb. Maybe we should. I think we still have a 60 S2s. We have a lot. We have a lot of them. I don't know what we'll eventually do with them. Every week I have the intention to do something, and then my week gets kind of moved in a direction. I'm sure everybody can relate. You have to put out fires and do stuff all the time. Okay, so cool. Lawrence is answering a couple questions for me on the tone stack. Awesome. Thank you, Lawrence. You're the man. Okay, what is your favorite low volume amp right now? It's either, it's usually the Princeton, but right now I'm really big on this, the Supro amp, which is the 110. I forget the name of it. It's horrible. I have the Saturn, which is the big brother of it, and that's the smaller one. So it's everything the same as the Saturn. It just has a 110 in it. And I really like it. It sounds huge. In fact, if you notice in the room, there's only 2 amps now. And it's because that amp is my late at night play amp, and then that's the amp I'm playing when I'm doing everything else. Okay, any thoughts on the 2017 Roadhouse Deluxe Strats? That's from Tyler. Yeah, I like these. I like the new Roadhouse Strats and the Deluxe Made Mexico Strats as much, if not more, than the Pro Series stuff. They're killer. Compound radius. I mean, fantastic stuff. Oh, yeah. Here, Atomic Rock says, hey, Phil, have you seen the all-white Supreme X Fender Strat? Better than that, did you see when they released that? It was crazy. They got so much bad feedback for that guitar. But it's an all-white Strat. White. It's like a white fretboard, white headstock. And it's like from some clothing company, right? I'm lame. I don't know anything about cool clothing. I wear Know Your Gear t-shirts, which maybe makes that cool. Maybe I'm cool because I do that. So, oh, okay. Kara Higgins says, how about a vid on prepping and packaging amps for shipping and sales? Yeah, somebody sent a message about that, about doing guitars too. That might have been you as well. And when I didn't read that email, but when somebody was telling me about it, I was like, yeah, we'll have to figure out how to do that. So I think so. I think it's a good idea. There's probably not a whole lot of videos out there. I'll have to take a look. Mike Allen says, Phil, what do you think of the about the exotic pedals, the AC and the RC booster? I think fantastic pedals. When I came back from Nashville, I bought one. I bought the orange one. Is that the RC booster? I love it. So it's fantastic. Okay. All right. Oh, and the Blues. Hey, Shane, what's up? He's saying hi to Terry Bear. Hey, Terry Bear and Shane in the Blues. I just finished a bunch of In the Blues videos last night. You've been pumping out a ton. I'm going to say mate because you say mate. You've been pumping out a ton. It's hard keeping up, but I've been watching them. They're fantastic. Okay, what's the best harmony pedal for guitar out there? Oh, come on, man. It's the Quintessence. It's this pedal right here. Because you could get a cool tone print with it. Now, honest to goodness, I could tell you, I don't really know. I've used the Boss one. A lot of people really like that one. I'm sure, there's a ton of pedals out there. I really don't use a harmony pedal very much. It's weird that I did a tone print with a harmony pedal. I probably have never used a harmony pedal other than just check one out. So like I said, so my tone print kind of, but I've been using the harmony pedal more. So to be honest with you, I'm the Quintessence mostly because that's most I've ever used a harmony pedal. And I'm only using it because after I played with my tone print for a while, I started messing with other features it has, and it seems really cool. So there you go. And TC makes great stuff. So I would recommend TC or Boss. I'm sure there's some really good other suggestions out there as well. How do people do tips during the live broadcast? MBs. I don't know how they do it, but don't worry about it. Although, it's nice when you guys, tip the stuff, but that's why we have the sponsors now. So the sponsors do it through Patreon. They sponsor the channel. These guys right here, I'll just show you the picture so you get the idea. These people sponsor the channel through Patreon, and that's cool because, it gets me motivated to do them every Friday. I know sometimes we're missing them, and it's because it's a little hard to put them in my schedule during the week. But with the sponsors, I'm kind of make sure it's happened. So... okay, I am seeing some more cool questions here. Eric Furman, any guitars you wish you had? I'm done. Every guitar now is just a cool, cool guitar to get. But like that Framus guitar, that wasn't like a dream guitar to get. I mean, it is, but I wasn't thinking about it for 20 years. A lot of the guitars I've collected, I've been wanting, for a long time. And now I've really settled into what I like. I really like Strats. I really like the Framus. I like my PRSs. I have a Les Paul. In the collection, that's really, really cool. But what kills it for me is, where's it at? Right there. That Schecter guitar is as good as anything I have. So it's really tough. Because you realize at some point there's... the guitars are cool to collect, because guitars, you gotta understand, I've said this a lot. I collect guitars just like I collect pedals and stuff. And those collecting is fun. It's fun to do, and by collecting and trading and selling, I can get other stuff. That's how it works. So I don't have infinite deep pockets by any means at all. I mostly what you see is because I've been collecting, and when I see opportunities, I take them. And sometimes I buy a piece of gear because I know it's a good deal. And then I sit on it for a while. And then when I see something I want, I sell that off or trade it. So that's what you do when you collect. And sometimes a piece of gear is... and a lot of times the stuff I really, really love when I collect, like my gems and other stuff, they're in cases in the other room. Okay, so we tune to C. Okay, cool. What happened to the Fender The Twin and the Twin amp? Probably the last grown-up amps Fender made, if you ever wonder where the dual rectifier sound came from. Yeah, they did the Twin. That stuff, it was 100 pounds, it was 100 watts. Those things they sounded fantastic. Did you see the last incarnation of it? Had a digital bias control on the back. You could bias the amp down and up on that amp. That market died off. That's what happened. It's just really hard to take big amps to small gigs. And that's really what it is. You know, you hear it all the time. I said this comment, and like I said, I don't hide anything from anybody, but I said this comment the other day, so it'll probably get out there. Somebody was talking to me about something about local bands and amps and what, you know, the industry now, it's all small amps and this. And I said, well, because I'm going to tell you this, to be honest, if people think mom and pop stores are dying off, and you know, and that's what they talk about, well, then the gigging musicians, they died off 10, 15 years ago in retrospect. I don't mean they're dying off. I'm just saying if that's the correlation. The truth is that the gigging musicians have changed. They changed with the times, and the time says use smaller amps, use more appropriate stage volume, and that's what they do. At least where I live, everybody's going to have a different attitude. But when I talk to a lot of people, they say the same thing. When you go to other states, it's the same thing. When I was talking to the people at Guitcon, the people that were in Europe, they were saying the same thing. That really smaller amps kind of win the day when it comes to gigging musicians. It's a little lighter on the back, lighter on the pocketbook. It makes it a little easier. So there you go. And the sales definitely back that up. If you go into, you can Google it. If you look at amp sales, you'll see big amp sales are very small now in the overall view of it. And a lot of people think it's because there's a lot of bedroom players. And there's a lot of that too. Bedroom players buy a big chunk of it. Hobbyists are by far bigger than professional musicians in volume. I think that's true. That's like professional athletes. There's more professional, there's more spectators of professional athletes than professional athletes. So that's always going to be the case. Guitar Samurai. Is this really the Guitar Samurai? It says Guitar Samurai 1. So if it's really Guitar Samurai or just somebody cool that has Guitar Samurai's name. It says, do you think the Peavey Hp2s are a good buy? Question mark. And will they be collectible? Yes to both, because I think it's slowly getting out there. I don't know if people know this. You know, those HP2s, those are the old Wolfgangs. When Eddie left, this is from the Peavey guys. They said this, so if it's wrong, it's because they were saying this, you know, under their breath at the NAMM show. They were saying these are all the old parts that have been sitting in a warehouse, and they waited for the patent to expire. And once the patent expired, they had all these parts. They pulled them out and made all these guitars. So all those guitars apparently are made from those old Wolfgangs. So that's kind of cool. And that will give it collectability, because collectability will always be about exclusivity. In other words, the less of it... Well, perfect example. I was just talking about this the other day. I bought that reclaimed PRS, and now they're worth double what I paid for it, which is crazy, because now I love that guitar, but now I'm like tempted to get rid of it because, you know, I don't know. But I probably won't, but you understand the idea, you know. Let's see. Atomic Rock, Phil, can you get SSS tones, so single coil Strat tones, out of an HSS Strat? Absolutely. You can coil split the first. I think you get better tones because, generally speaking, when you coil split a humbucker, you're getting a lower output pickup, and I think it sounds a little sweeter. So I'm definitely for that all day long, and I think you can definitely get those tones for sure. 12333. Said, worst guitar ever. You know, worst guitar ever, I could be cheesy and be like, the guitar that no one plays, you know, but worst guitar ever. For me, it's the Esteban guitars. They are the worst guitars ever. I for a while, we had a no Esteban guitar policy in the shop. And then I got too many sad people, you know, people who... Just it gets emotional. You know, people bought those guitars for their loved one. You know, grandma bought it off of QVC, and now it won't tune, and the teacher's telling her she got to take it to a shop, and they would bring me this Esteban guitar, and it would probably take me 3 hours to make the thing playable, and, you know, you're charging $50. You're like, oh, I can't make that work. So we would tell them we wouldn't work on them, and then, you know, over time, just too many sad kids' faces, so you started doing them. So they're definitely bad. Let's see. Oh, okay. And the Blues is telling Lawrence every other weekend he plays live. Have done it since 2002. Yeah, you know what? And Shane does play a lot live, and I think that's cool. Gives him some knowledge. That's one of the things cool. People who play for a living, they definitely have a different perspective of gear. I don't know if Shane, maybe this is an idea for you. You can do it in Australia too. You know, my complaint about rig. Everybody who knows this channel really well knows that I'm a rig rundown freak. I love Premier Guitar, but my big complaint about them is they only do famous people. They should do, like in the Blues, you should do rig rundowns of what people do in basic bar, in the bar. When you're in the bar, do a rig rundown of your buddy's gear. Because I think it's cool when you see somebody performing in front of people and doing it well with a Boss pedal, a Peavey amp, and a Mexican Strat. And because people sometimes confuse, you know, what they see and what we talk about in practical ways. In practical ways, you know, you only need so much to be successful. It's not a lot to be successful as a musician, especially in today's age. You can get very affordable, good stuff. But I understand that, and I use that principle a lot. But then, you know, collecting is a different thing. Collecting is just about something to do with your time to keep your sanity. So it's just something to do. You got to do something. So, okay, so Things Stuff says, but I want to be the next big rock star, and you're saying that's highly unlikely. You know, no, not anymore. Are you kidding? You know what was funny was, no, I think it's easier to be a rock star now. You just can't be a mega rock star. I think that's harder. But I think people are, you know, I think it's in the new world, you're going to see a lot of people become successful to some degree, but maybe not ultra successful. You know, maybe not a household name. So definitely get out there and do it, for sure. You got nothing else. The same thing, you got nothing else to do. Do it. Okay, let's see if there's a couple cool ones before we go. Framus question. Any chance you would become an importer of Framus guitar? That's Scott. No, but I'm trying to talk to those guys to figure out, you know, they have U.S. distribution, but they have no... I feel bad. I have the review for the Framus all done, and I feel bad putting it out because I want you guys to see it, but I also feel weird showing everybody a guitar they can't get in the United States. You have to order it from Thomann, and I don't even know how that works because you have to import it in, and there's all the CITES rules and stuff. So I don't even know if they're going to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Framus is Framus, if they're German, Framus. Framus was really cool to do all this, but like I said, there was a lot of stuff missing in that connection that would be beneficial to them, which is great. That tells you they used their heart a little bit. You know, they went with what they wanted to do, but you know, I want to help them too. I want to reciprocate. You know what I mean? Because you'll see in the review, I'm going to talk about the fact that, you know, even though this guitar is crazy expensive, they're not all crazy. Well, they're all expensive, but they're not all crazy expensive. So, and they're supposed to have an import line in January. So we'll see. Jeff C says, I should be working right now. Okay, Jeff. You know, at least you're being honest with yourself. You can always listen to it in the background and work. Ed Dana. Hey, Ed, what's up? Some of the best players and recording guys out there were at Guitcon, like Leo and Pete. Yeah, did you guys see Leo's video today with Phil X? Oh, that Phil X solo is so amazing. I've become a little fanboy of Phil X's playing. I always liked Phil's playing, but watching it, being next to it, interacting with it to some degree, that guy's got chops. I mean, Pete Thorne's amazing, and Tyler Wynn, I mean, I feel bad if I leave anybody out. There were so many great players there, but for some reason, you know, Phil X, you know, I think it's because Phil X said something to me that just sparked something into me. He said he specifically plays pentatonics all the time now because people tell him that pentatonics are boring and old and you can't use them anymore. And so he says he just goes out of his way to find great ways to play pentatonics. And you know what? And when you watch his playing, it's exciting and it's great playing. And yeah, he's basically playing in the box. He's playing in pentatonics. So, So it says, okay, here's a good one. RLTA04 says, why so many YouTube shirt sellers pushing Acacia guitars? I don't understand what the shirt sellers part. Maybe you could clarify. But I think what you're saying is why so many YouTubers pushing Acacia guitars are shirts of Acacia guitars. I'm not really familiar with it. Well, I noticed there's a couple YouTubers pushing Acacia guitars, but that's because you're going to see that. I mean, big brands don't interact with YouTubers for the most part. So, okay, smaller builders want to interact with YouTube. They know there's a community. They know there's let me put it this way. My channel is a mid-sized channel is how I look at it, right? Where I'm a small mid-sized channel in growth. And this today I hit 23 million views. And what that implies is basically since the first month I hit 1 million views, I've been consecutively hitting 1 million views. So that, when we talk about companies and how they, sometimes they're not interested in working with us, some of the companies are the exact opposite. They just want you to push their product all the time. And you're not really interested in doing that. Justin maybe says, hey, Phil. Hey, Justin. Where's it at? Okay, go back. And so I think Acacia and a couple of companies like that have reached out and worked with YouTubers. And think of this: there's a Robert Baker Acacia guitar. It seems appropriate to me, especially, and like I said, there's no false disclosure there. Robert Baker's like, I endorse the Acacia guitar. He has his own model. You know what the agenda is there. He's got his own model. I'm sure he's compensated in some way for that, and he's let everybody know. And I think that's the important part, because I think what I really what I touch on is not that. Like kind of what Jose was saying, I don't think company relationships with YouTubers is wrong. I think it's fantastic. What I think is weird is when YouTubers are, I don't mean that they got like a $10 check or they got paid for doing a video. I mean, they're literally they're on the payroll. I mean, there's YouTuber channels that are literally on the payroll of a company, and you don't really know that. So that's what you want disclosed if that's happening. And I'm not accusing it. I'm just saying that's what you don't want to have. It's like 23 million. Yeah, it was today, 23 million views. It's crazy. Terry Bear, I got a question. Okay, when it comes to a replacement neck for a guitar, is it best to buy, say, a Fender produced neck versus a cheap or more expensive OEM style neck for a guitar like a Strat? Well, the only advantage to buying the Fender neck now is that they sell them again, is that they'll have a serial number and it'll be Fender branded and it'll be a Fender neck. It's a legitimate Fender neck. But most legitimate companies, like I've had great experiences with Warmoth. Mighty Mite's been pretty good. I've never had a problem with it. There's a ton of people, ton of builders out there to make necks. What do you call it? StewMac makes some necks. I've had no problems. They're all great. So to answer your question, is there a better which way to go? Really, it's about that Fender logo. How bad do you want that Fender logo? So, hold on a second. We Backtrack says, Patreon link, question mark? I'll put it now that I said it. I'll put it in the thing. I really don't push the Patreon thing too much. I really appreciate the people that support the Patreon, and we do some special stuff on there. At least we try to. And it's a good way to grow the channel. So because I don't want to get into too much. Patreon is how I've been growing the channel. I take all the money from Patreon and I put it into channel, and it literally is why it does the way it does. It helps me do stuff. Like I said before, I think I said it last week, the podcasts that are now out, the fact that this video will be a podcast in a day is funded by the Patreon and stuff. Sean Blue says, we need a schedule for the live Phil, Pixie, TK, Shane, and Ed all in one place, easy to find thing. Yeah, I'm trying to schedule, like next week's is already scheduled out. It'll be next Friday, same time, same bat channel. So trying to schedule out the live shows. And it would be nice if we had a more central source of it. Okay, I can't say the name. I want to say Mara Sear. Hey Phil, got a question for you and wondering what your opinion is. What is your favorite tone wood and how big are the differences in your opinion? So the tone wood, right? I don't really care. I guess I'll go on the record and say this. I think there's differences in tone wood, but I don't care. Which is different than most people's opinion of either there isn't or there is. It's just something I don't really it's something that I find if it exists, it's not a huge part of the guitar's makeup. But I don't ever say anything's officially a thing. And not because I don't want to get into it or be delving in it. It's just because I change my mind all the time. Today's video, I did the battery thing. I was just curious. They had them, I did it. I heard a difference. Whether it's real or not, it's irrelevant. Somebody's like, it's a placebo. Well, it's a placebo. It happened to me. I can't stop that from happening. But I did, as an educated person, I did my best to find out for myself out of the curiosity of it. I'm just curious by nature. I just want to, what else am I going to do? Watch TV? So I messed with a battery for 4 hours because it's either that or watch reruns of Law and Order. So... And if somebody believes in tone wood, well, then they should. And if somebody doesn't, they shouldn't. So, and the reason, and the only thing that's important about that is, if your personality is that you're for me or against me on this debate, you should go suck it and leave, because I don't enjoy that at all. That's the thing I really don't enjoy. Music is not a competitive nature event. It's just, everybody has a different theory, and I've seen everybody get to the same point with different theories. Ed Dana, tell why Fender has stopped selling necks. Oh, they did? They said they were gonna. So that would make sense. So Ed's saying that they stopped selling necks. Well, so the last official communication I had with Fender about parts was they were gonna stop selling the necks. They said they weren't selling well. And that's because they didn't offer a whole lot. The problem is the same with the bodies. They weren't selling well. They said they weren't selling well, and so they backed off. But then, so when they told me they were stopped selling them, it felt like it went on for another year after that. So if they stopped selling them, it's because they weren't selling well. So now you have to go back to aftermarket anyways. Or Stratosphere. Highly recommend. If you're going to get Fender parts, Stratosphere is fantastic. I buy a ton of stuff from Stratosphere. How about this? When I was a Fender dealer, we would buy stuff from Stratosphere. You get stuff from Stratosphere sometimes better than you could get it from Fender. Let's see. Question. Your Gretsch Streamliner is a hardtail. Do you not like bigsby tail pieces on your guitars? If so, why? It's a hardtail because my other Gretsch is a tremolo. I have a Gretsch anniversary, limited edition anniversary that has and I have a blue one that has a bigsby. So my two other Gretches have bigsby. I have one of each. I have the Streamliner, I have the Electromatic, and I have the Japanese Pro Series. So and I wanted one without the bigsby. Let's see, Phil, thoughts on the 2018 Les Paul Classic? I haven't heard much. All I've been reading is all this stuff about Gibson. Seems like everybody hates Gibson, which is funny because I don't think that's real. I think it's all crap that people hype up on the internet because I went on Reverb because I was curious. You can always tell if something's real because it's the money. Follow the money, right? I went on Reverb last week when everybody said Gibson's dying. I go, okay, they're dying? Let's take a look. So I went on Reverb used, and there was about 1,500 used Les Paul standards, all fetching the same amount they were getting. Because I was thinking, well, maybe if they're dying, maybe it's a good time to pick up a Les Paul standard for $800. No such thing. And there was 1,500 used ones. That sounds like a lot, but technically, even though Reverb's a lot smaller in eBay, the used market for Les Pauls is going to be the stores, Craigslist, Reverb, and in eBay. If Reverb has about 1,500 used Les Pauls, that sounds like a lot, but that's not even a month's supply. I mean, Gibson makes more than that in a month. So it's not a whole lot of back inventory of used product. When people talk about the used product is going to kill the new product, that's not a huge amount of inventory to satisfy the market, unless the market keeps dropping. But I don't think it's really dropping. I think people who don't like Gibson love the fact that Gibson's failing. And people who like Gibson are just getting pissy about it. I have no opinions either way. Because like I said, it's to me, Gibson as a company's never been that exciting as a company anyways. Their product has been what I've been excited about, and I've said it for years. I like Gibson product, not because Gibson, because artists and people that play Gibson, I like their music and their sound. Let's see. And I know we're kind of going over a little bit, but I'll go a few minutes over. Hey, Phil, hope all is great. Gibson is fine. Their marketing and new stuff needs improvement. Well, that's Tone Talk. Oh, yeah, hey, Tone Talk. That's Mark Hazansky. Hey, yeah, they definitely need marketing improvement. They should be doing some damage control right now, but they're not. I don't know why, what their plan is. But maybe they're waiting it out to see how long this lasts. It's easy to get views. I didn't do a video on the Gibson closing the factory because I saw like 10 videos in like an hour, and I was like, I don't want, and it was, I knew it was going to just bring negative people. When I did the Carvin closing, dude, I was actually so sad. I don't know if you could tell. I just started crying in that video. It really hit me pretty hard. I felt bad for them closing. I feel like Carvin was a good company, and you know, it just happens. And Carvin closing meant it closed. You know, I mean, I understand the Kiesel guys could buy it, and anybody could buy the brand, but it looks like that closed. Gibson, if they close, it's just a change of management. Gibson will just change hands. Somebody will buy it. Jared Briggs, hey Phil, are you and TK, that's the Tone King, going to do more collab videos? I enjoyed the couple vids you guys did together at the Guitar Center in Sam Ash. Yeah, TK, the Tone King came to town, and he said, I'm in town, you want to have lunch? And I said, yeah, let's hit some music stores. So we did that, and we did some videos, and they're on the Tone King's channel. I enjoyed them very much. We had a blast. That was just his phone. We took his phone. We had no intent to do videos, but we thought maybe we should capture some stuff and put it out there for everybody. And yeah, I would love to do more collaboration videos. I'm hoping at the NAMM there's going to be some more collaboration videos. When I reached out to you guys and asked you about whether or not you thought I should go to the NAMM, 90% of you guys said no. So that I'm still going to go, but I'm going to change what I'm going to do there. Since you guys don't seem really interested in you know, just walking the booths, maybe I could do something else that's fun. You know. Rep Guy 2020 says, I feel bad for the workers in Memphis. Oh, yeah, because they closed the factory? Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. It hits home. Anytime you see people lose jobs, that's real stuff. I mean, that's real stuff. I've unfortunately been at companies when they have done layoffs and stuff, and it's horrible and closed. Hero Glop says, will Supro sell low-price amps kind of like Champion 600s? I don't know. I think it would be smart just to put them in. I mean, amps are easy because they're pretty much no amps are made in the USA. They're all got some kind of components for overseas, so I think it's easy for an amp company to open up the price points to different levels. It gets a little trickier for, I think, American companies, you know, that when they bring imports in, they change the way the impression of the guitars look. At least to me. Okay, let's see if we got one last one. I'll do two because I got Showman and Showman Blues. Showman Blues says, have you talked about Joe yet? I feel sorry for George and his new double special LTD ED 1000 only, just released and signed. Guess who? So when he said Joe, he's talking about I had it here. Watch, ready? I put this on Instagram. Joe Bonamassa had some stuff to say about pedals, so pedals will crash and everything will end. Just kidding. So yeah, Joe Bonamassa basically said some stuff about pedals. It's hard to get the gist of what that conversation was. I read the article, and you know, when people get interviewed all the time, I'm sure they're going to say crazy things, odd things, because you don't know what his mindset is. And I don't know how, you know, what he... So if you guys don't know what he said, you'd have to look it up. Basically, he said that, you know, people who use pedals are lazy, and, you know, there's not fun for the audience if you're staring at the floor all the time. I mean, basically what he said, none of it was wrong or entirely right. It was just what he said. But my guess is, and this is just a guess, my guess is he was probably sick of being asked the same questions, and it probably prompted him to go a certain direction. It's very, very... Or he could just really hate pedals now. I don't know. I know this. Pedal collecting is by far the cheapest thing of guitars, amps, and pedals. If you're going to collect amps, guitars or pedals. Pedals are the most realistic. Joe Bonamassa buys a new vintage guitar every week, an amp every week. You know, so, I mean, I understand pedals probably aren't exciting for him anymore. I don't know. So... Let's see. Bellin said, did you say he had 80 pure SS2? No, not 80. There's a lot, though. There's dozens and dozens of them. Yeah. Showman says, oh, yeah, watching. Yeah, if you guys don't know, I did a video the other night. I was on Tone King's channel. It was me and Pixie and Tone King. And I laughed so hard I thought I was going to die. So it was great. I'm going to say Loogie Flux. Hey, Phil, if there was one thing you could do different about Guitcon, what would it be? You know, I would have probably done more gear reviews. I don't know. It's hard, you know, with hindsight. I maybe would have played more on stage too. So, I don't know. It was such a blast. You know what it is? It was like such a surreal, perfect thing. My biggest sad thing is it's never going to happen again. I mean, not Guitcon, but just that moment. Sean P says, please summarize the Epiphone LP neck shapes. Impossible to tell from specs which guitars have which shape. At least 4 different necks on GC Wall. Oh, absolutely. Well, if you guys watched all my videos, you've known over time I'll talk about guitars I bought online, but every time you see me talking about Les Pauls, including the 2 I bought, I bought 2 Les Pauls on my channel and videos that you've seen. Both times I was in a store buying them. Man, you gotta touch them. Their necks are all over the place. Think of this. I have a 2005 Les Paul, and I love the neck, and I was trying necks, and I couldn't find out. So I did some research and found out that in 2005, for part of the year, the Les Paul Standard came in a C-shaped neck, and that's what I have. So it's a different shaped neck than what they normally put out. It's not a 50s or a 60s. It's not a slim taper. It's something else. So Gibson and Epiphone love to throw out different neck shapes like crazy, and I think that's part of what people consider as inconsistent about their brand. So, unfortunately, I would love to summarize the different neck shapes for the Les Paul, but it's not a shape like a V versus a U versus a C in traditional sense. It's really just different dimensions. They have, even the 50s necks, I felt 2 or 3 different 50s necks. And that's always going to be the case with anybody because hand sanding always changes the neck a little bit when they finish it up. Paul Reed Smith is considered very consistent, but even them, their necks can be off by how much the hand sander took off the neck at the end. But yeah, it's crazy. So with Epiphones and Les Pauls or Epiphones and Gibsons, you're always going to have to put hands on product to figure it out. So sorry, Sean P. I hope that helps though. At least that lets you know you're not crazy out there. That you're experiencing what everybody else is experiencing. So there you go. And then it says maybe Paul Smith could give back and coach Gibson in building quality guitars. Those guys will never work together. Paul Reed Smith and Gibson will never work together. Gibson suing Paul Reed Smith pretty much since the fact that Paul Reed Smith and Gibson will never be friends. Is my guess. That's my guess, and I feel pretty confident. Oh, okay, see, Phil Smith said, well, it's another week of missing the... I told you guys, every time, especially Phil, I appreciate all your comments, Phil. It's Phil Smith. Just you gotta repost the question. I promise, if there's a Mesa question, I'll answer it. Like I said, I try to get to any questions I can. I can't say the name. Clevic Live 54 says, have you seen how many pedals Joe's got on his board? Well, the last picture I saw of Joe's, he had 2. He had the wah and the overrated special. So who knows? But for a while, he had a ton of pedals, and he kept backing off and backing off. But think of this. He's got a bunch of amps behind him. So, I mean, you know, I don't know. That's what I like about this. Everybody can have an opinion, and then you just form your own out of that. Okay, and then I said that was the last question, so we'll probably call it. And let me do the sponsorship thing one more time, since you guys are hanging with me. Just one more time, I just want to thank Dave Madison, Justin Maybe, Michael Shy, Bradulus, John Jex, and Lawrence Petros of LPD Pedals for sponsoring this show and all the future shows, and we're going to keep them going. And I got Phil Smith's questions. Let me get to that. We'll do them every Fridays. I was alternating between Fridays and Saturdays. I probably won't be doing that as much because we'll take the Saturdays now and we're going to use we'll put these on podcasts, but then we'll do podcast only QAs and stuff and all kinds of other stuff. Just keep it fun. Let's keep it fun. Okay, so Phil Smith said, use Mesa Mark 5 90 watt versus Mesa, versus 5 25 watt. Well, I had both, and I picked the 25. I like the 25. I still have it. It's in the other room. I like it a lot. So I don't use the Mesa Mark V too much in videos, but I use it in the other room a lot. I liked it more. For me, I didn't need a big amp. You know, I don't need 100 watts. I know it's switchable and stuff. It was really cool amp, but I like the Mark V 25. It's just what I like. But, and in use, they're great. Bree570 said, when are you going to visit with GNL? You know, I talked about going to GNL a bunch of times, and I kept pushing it off and pushing it off, and I think at this point, I just don't know. And now that NAMM's coming up, maybe that's the best time to go when I'm in California for that. I don't know. Okay, that's what we're going to call it at. You guys this is a great question QA time. I had a great time. I hope you guys had a great time as well. I'm just reading some last comments. What am I hiding in the... Bugs Bunny Brother says, what am I hiding in the other room? Well, you guys, if you guys are... if you've been following the show since I started, remember the walls were white? That's not this room. The room that is... So if you go back far enough in my videos, there's a different wall behind me of amps and guitar. That's the other room. That's my main room. This is my office. So I switched to this room because it just made more sense to do this. This room is much smaller, and the audio is great because it's all insulated. And I insulated everything. I can't insulate my bedroom. It's just too weird. Just sounds... Because in here it's sonically dead. You can't hear any echo in here. Chris K. Phil only reads my joke comments. No worries. I wish I could figure out how to get this to prompt better. The way it moves is not so cool. Oh, and is Larry on here too? I saw somebody saying hi to Larry Mitchell. You guys, Larry Mitchell is an amazing guitar player. And you know what? I just watched. He did a Clinc the other night. That was fantastic. Okay, last question. Then we'll call it. Ready? Jesse says, Dimarzio equivalent to the Thornbucker. I personally, owning all both pickups, think it's the Eric Johnson Dimarzio sound a lot like the Thornbuckers. Really low output, smooth, creamy. They definitely had that kind of vibe. They're probably different magnets. I've never looked at the specs, so I have no idea if they're spec the same or the outputs are identical. But to my ear, they sound almost identical. So very, very reminiscent. When I got the Thornbuckers, that's the first thing I thought. They sounded like my Eric Johnson. RNA Music Runs like, I like my Mesas. Yeah, I like my Mesa too. I like my Mark V. I think it's one of my favorite amps. It's does everything really well. So, all right, we're gonna call it. As always, guys, I want to thank you guys for spending the afternoon with me on a Friday. We'll see you guys next Friday, and until next time, thank you for your time and know your gear.